Palestinian people, we want our freedom. When we yell and chant free, free Palestine, it means give our people equal rights as Israeli citizens. It means end the occupation. It means end the illegal colonialism. It means end the illegal settlements. That's what it means. We just want to have the same freedom and the same life as Israeli people do in Israel.
Ramsey's here, which is exciting. I've been waiting a while for you to come on the show.
We have it. Actually, we've been, what now? It's been I feel like it's been like 3 months since we first talked.
Yeah, it's been a while. I keep trying.
Yeah, first we wanted to talk about the shutdown, the lockdown in Ontario, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think a lot more people have changed their mind in regards to the lockdown. I feel like at first everyone was like, yeah, pro lockdown. I mean, the intention's right, but the further it just dragged out, the more people were like, listen, like the lockdown's not going to fix anything. So
yeah, it was a little ridiculous. I think I think from the get-go, I was kind of like, nah, this is dumb. But everyone started to kind of realize it slowly. And it's been definitely dragged on way too long. It's become a serious issue, in my opinion, especially with mental health for a lot of people, which has been bothering me.
What are we now? We're May 20th at the time of this recording. So we've been in lockdown for almost like since November.
It's become your whole lifestyle, like
7 months. Yeah,
it's too much, but it's changing. I see the bright side of it coming right now. So thank God. But it doesn't. We've been going through lockdown. It's been a hard time, but I feel like the world outside of that has been seriously taking a hit. I don't know if it's just because of COVID. I mean, both of us have started experiencing stuff from both our, backgrounds from where we're from. Yeah. Both of us have been experiencing some crazy stuff going on overseas. And I don't know if it's because of the actual incidents of like the lockdown and because of like, let's say the global pandemic that's causing certain things to come into effect. And I think I could take that precedent from historical events that have happened, genocides and manslaughter and, crimes against humanity generally tend to happen when there's other issues at place. Like, for example, like from my childhood learning about the Armenian genocide and what happened to Armenian people, you learn that it happened during World War. And the reason why it happened during World War is because that was a perfect time of cover-up, that people were concerned about something else. Everyone had their own problems. Mm-hmm. So, no one's paying attention. Now we can do something else. Yeah. And I feel like the same thing happened with us, with Azerbaijan, and what happened in Armenia is, everyone's so concerned about their problems. Perfect. We can take advantage of that. And I feel like the same thing's happening right now with Palestine.
Yeah. I mean, at the time that we're recording this, clearly the Palestinian-Israeli conflict has sparked up once again, like it has many times in the past multiple decades, and that's kind of what sparked this, right? Because we were speaking about. So I'm Palestinian. My grandparents all and families all born in Palestine, and then when in 1948 there was what we call the Nakba, which is like the first time that Israel declared its independence, and then there's the whole eviction of thousands and thousands of Palestinians, of which my grandma was one of them. She went to Jordan to a refugee camp, and that's where my parents were born. So when we kind of were talking about this on DMs and stuff like that, like maybe we should go speak about it. I don't actually know much about.
Well, that's the same thing I was going to tell you is I wanted to speak about it, and I said specifically let's do it about a podcast because I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to know what's going on and have a better idea of what's going on. Because you can only get so much from a tiny post online. You get like a snippet of like what's happening and how do you know what's going on really. I personally know a lot about the Armenian people. I've been raised in it and I know all the details. I've been, fighting the cause for a long time, trying to help.
Let's talk on that quickly here. So what is, because I actually don't know the background. So why don't we like you give me the Cole's notes and then anyone that doesn't know, and then we could do vice versa.
I'll give you the quick synopsis of kind of what happened. Yeah. As you know already, Armenia is a very, very old country. They've been around for a very long time. Predominantly, it's a Christian country. It was the first Christian nation to be declared Christian in the world. Problem, though, is they were surrounded by non-Christian countries, which generally cause conflict because religion in general is the center of any conflict. It's just unfortunate truth. That's what it is. What ended up happening is Armenia was a very big empire at the time, and obviously empires come and go, which is very normal. But the Ottoman Empire had taken place at the time for about quite a lot. I don't know the exact number, but like 800 years or more. The Ottoman Empire had taken over that entire area. The Turkish nation itself didn't exist before the Ottoman Empire, right? It was kind of a tribe that had come in and settled into that area, took over Greece, took over Armenia, took over like parts of Iran and those areas. So, it was the Ottoman Empire for a while, and honestly, like most empires back in the day, they weren't pleasant. Okay, there was a lot of killing, there was a lot of stuff. But you know what? Those are, that's a long time ago, and you can't go back and be like, you
can't
4,000
justify
years
current
ago.
actions because of that.
Yeah. So, but towards the end of the Ottoman Empire, there was actually a collapse of the Ottoman people, the Ottoman Empire, because the Sultan Hamid, who was the last person who was in control of the Ottoman Empire, what happened was, there was a party called the Young Turk Party. The Young Turk Party was a group of progressives that wanted to change and stop the oppressive Ottoman regime.
Yep.
And basically, the Armenians and all the Armenians, the Greeks, and the Syrians, and all these people rose together with the Turks and said that we're going to stop this oppression, and they did, and they basically took down the
Ottoman Empire.
Not the Ottoman Empire, but the Sultan Hamid, like the person. So basically, dictatorship. So the Young Turk Party came in as a progressive party, and after about 8 years, Armenia was flourishing. There was freedom. People were coming back to the country, and Armenia has always been generally a very talented group of people.
At that time, was it declared? Like, was it? Did it have its independence?
It's not like the Armenian. There was not like an independence. Yes, Armenia was independent at the time. It was still under that regime, but like everyone was free. Everyone had like the ability to do whatever they wanted. There was no oppression, right? So everyone started to flourish. Well, Armenia flourished as well. Now, what ended up happening is, at the time, this is what they say, is that the World War started, the first one. And what ended up happening is there were Armenians in Russia at the time too, and they were all fighting. So like the Ottoman Empire was fighting, and the Russians were against the Ottoman Empire, and there was a conflict. Basically, Turkish people, like the government says that there was a war, it was World War, and Armenians were fighting the Ottoman Empire, and we had to kind of we're in a war. Well, that's not true. There was Armenians who were living there that didn't have anything to do with it. There were Armenians in Russia, some Armenians that had lived there that were fighting on the Russian side in the military, which is normal. That's not a big deal. Yeah. But what ended up happening is, the truth is that Armenians were flourishing a lot, and the Ottoman Empire, the Young Turk Party, was worried that they were starting to crumble. They were losing power. They were losing control. So they were worried that as the status started to crumble, that Armenia was going to flourish and kind of
become new power.
Exactly. Yeah. And to them, they were like, absolutely not. So what started to happen is they actually started to commit that genocide, the first genocide that ever happened. What they did was, first they killed all the heads of the Armenian communities, the big priests, top guys, anybody with influence. What they did was they actually called them up for a meeting, because at the time Armenians weren't allowed in the Turkish military, the Ottoman military. Sure. They weren't allowed during World War. So they said that we need all of these intellects from the Armenians to come to a meeting, and they basically had a summit, like a document that was sent to all the Turkish generals, which we have today. By the way, it is encrypted. It's like a code document that actually plans out the genocide and how it's going to take place. So I don't know how they deny it when they have their own proof that they've written it. But they basically took all these people, and that was on April 24, 1915, which is basically the date that we commemorate, because that's when it started.
It's kind of like 1948 for us.
Exactly. So they basically took all these people and they executed them on the way to this meetings, and they killed them all. Then they went to the men and they said we need to recruit all the men for the work, like military, and they basically put them into labor camps slowly killed them off. Some that escaped ran away, went back, and started to warn people. That's why there was some like uprising. People started to run away, and some people got away. But then they basically went in and started taking the young women and children, and they started to march them through the deserts, deserts, and basically just murdered 1.5 million people. Wow. And like you can hear the stories from like our great grandparents, which I know, and I've had personal stories from them. There was actual Turkish soldiers that would bet and put bets on if the woman was pregnant, was it a boy and a girl, and they'd cut the baby out and to just see. And like they would, they actually invented the first gas chambers.
Yeah, wow.
You know, very creative. Yeah, they used to put people in caves, and they would actually blow smoke. They would put fires and blow smokes into the cave to mass kill them.
This was before even like the times of the Holocaust?
Well, it was before the Holocaust. And funny enough, actually Hitler I don't know if you call it hire, but basically got a couple of generals that had been through the Turkish genocide and to teach him, how did you guys do this? Because I need to learn how to do this, right? And the idea of the gas chambers and the idea of all this had come from this. And it was like basically a learning lesson for them. And to the point where there's a recorded saying that I was actually a recording of it, that Hitler said, when people were questioning him, how are you going to be able to kill this many people and get away with it? He said, after all, who remembers the Armenians today?
Oh my!
Like he was very well versed in what happened, and he knew that he was going to be able to do it based off of what Turks had done. Right?
Oh wow!
So so they basically really destroyed Armenia and like took all our lands. So right now, currently, Armenia is like a tiny piece, 75%. Like if you took the whole country, we maybe have like 15 to 20% of it left of what we used to have on the maps that were official, like not like old ancient.
Correct,
we're talking like
correct.
I forgot what the map name was. I can look it up later, but it was a specific map that like had been drawn by American scholars that like determined the lands. So most of that area in Turkey is Armenia's, including our sacred mountain, Mount Ararat, that we've had for how many centuries? I can't even count. So some Armenians got to stand up and fight, and they actually, like militia, like the same way right now the Palestinians are, like they stood up, they fought, and they stopped the Turks from pushing in. And so that's why we have a little piece of Armenia left today. And actually at the time, the French army had come in and actually helped, and they got in there in time and basically pushed off the Turks. So that happened, which is fine. You know, it happens. Stuff in the past happens. The problem with us, the same as you guys are having right now, is that's not stopping. It hasn't stopped. Like we've been fighting for them to recognize what they have done for years. They're still not recognizing
against Turkish.
Yeah, well, against Turkey, like Turkey. Just say that it's happened. Okay. Say that it's happened. We're not even expecting anything back.
So to today, there's still ongoing feuds between Turkey and Armenia.
Well, there's no actual battles or wars, but it's that they're not gonna.
They're living in a status quo. Yeah, dude, I actually had no idea how similar your struggles are. Everything you're saying to us, and I'm like, wait, it's kind of like Palestinian.
So what's happened recently with Armenia? Like we've always been against like that whole thing where we're like, look, just recognize. We have no problem with Turkish people. It's just that, the government has to recognize and say, at least it's happened. Admit that this disgusting act of violence has happened, and you've murdered people and you committed a genocide. Just say it. Yeah. And recently, the U.S. actually just admitted that, like, where it came out and said that the genocide it did happen in 1950, which is a big deal. Wow. Biden did that.
When was this? When was the height of
1915?
1915.
Yeah. So,
literally, the world was fucked up in 1948 to 1950 because the same shit was happening.
It was a really messed up time. And so that happened. And recently, the conflict that we had was Karabakh, which is a part of Armenia, which is an independent state. And basically, Azerbaijan on the other side, which is like Azerbaijan and Turkey are like best friends, they're brothers, okay? And Azerbaijan started to attack Karabakh. And even though it's declared as an independent state and everything is fine, they wanted it. And why? Just because they want it. And it's like theirs. And too bad. And they're claiming that it's their historical lands. Azerbaijan has only been a country for like 80 years. You have no history. There's churches there that are like 400 or 500 years old. And,
just like us.
And they're like, nope. This is our land now. And funny enough, they did it. They took over. We had to concede the lands because we didn't have a choice. We were getting destroyed because no one would help. They were attacking us with drones. And we're like, we don't have these guys with guns on the floors. Like, I mean, we had people from these community centers here fly to go fight there to stop them. And I know friends that I've gone to community here with, and I know their parents, and they died.
Wow.
Like, these are friends and family that I know personally. And I'm a Canadian citizen and I live in Canada. So the fact that it affected us here that much. So
what was the very recently, like
that was the Azerbaijan? Yeah, it was like a couple months ago that it just ended.
That's what you guys were fighting against,
and it's still happening now. By the way, it hasn't ended.
They're still trying to continue taking away.
They're still coming in. They're chipping. Like it's not as bad, but they're still It's still conflict. It doesn't end. It's ongoing. So it's unfortunate and. And it's even worse is the mockery afterwards. Like the Azerbaijani president, not Erdogan's Turkey. Wow, I forgot his name. It's okay. He actually built a museum of wax figures of Armenians with their helmets and their uniforms that they found, and they made a wax museum so that people can enjoy the slaughter of the soldiers, like the Armenian people.
It's fucked up.
And you see them and they're smiling and people are like punching the face. And I'm like, what kind of disgusting people can you, like, even if my country went to war with somebody else, even if I'm like, okay, we're enemies and you don't do like that. That's another level of like messed up. Right. So
today in Armenia, cause like, first of all, I had no idea how similar a lot of these, kind of certain things that you're saying are like, us too. But right now, in Armenia, do Armenians have their full rights intact?
In Armenia itself. So in Armenia, okay, so think of Armenia and Karabakh as two different things. Armenia is the main country, which has its militia, and it's actually protected by Russia in a way. So Putin kind of backs Armenia and says that no one's allowed to touch that land.
Okay.
And the problem is though Karabakh is kind of like its own independent state, all Armenians. But Karabakh is like, I don't want to be part of Armenia's government. Like, we kind of have our own thing going here, which is fine. But they do recognize as part of Armenia, right? Now, the issue is that there was kind of like a political play. And I think the reason was because the new president of Armenia is not very close with Putin. He kind of wanted independence. He wanted to kind of be like more North Americanized. He wanted to like kind of get off of the bandwagon of Russia.
Yeah.
And Putin's kind of like, oh, okay.
That's the difference between the two. Because I was thinking...
No, because the thing is, Armenia's president still protects Karabakh, right? But the problem is now they have a political issue, is that when Azerbaijan started to attack, and these guys all know this, they're playing the game. When Azerbaijan started to attack Karabakh and try to take those lands back, Armenia couldn't step in with his army, because the second Armenia stepped in with the army, then it's violating the rules between the
agreement?
No, yeah. So if Armenia steps in with their army, Turkey then can step in and say, Armenia, you're stepping in, I'm going to step in too.
Oh, I see.
Right? You get what I'm trying to say? Because they'll be like, oh, if you're going to be stepping in, then Turkey's going to come in and fight the war.
I see.
Because now he has an excuse. So Armenia had to kind of be very careful about it. Volunteers were going to go fight, but they couldn't send the official army.
Got you.
Because then Turkey was going to jump in, and then it'll be a complete disaster, right?
It's politics.
Yeah. But then Russia wasn't protecting, because it's like, well, technically it's an independent state. Don't have a treaty with, but he was doing it on purpose. Why? Because Armenia was starting to kind of peel away from Russia and wanted to kind of...
he wanted to bring them back.
And he's like, you need me. If you want to do that stuff, look at what happens. And he kind of proved this point, which it sucks because, for the games of these, people in power, like, come on, people are dying. Of course. People's homes, like...
Of course.
Like, I've been seeing videos of people getting, going into their house and old men getting beaten and stabbed and shot in the head. It's like, come on.
So right now, have things like a little bit cooled off?
A little bit, yeah. It has gotten a little better.
But you guys still want, is it just, you just want the full country, or you want recognition of what's happened?
Honestly,
or
we just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Like, people don't care. Like, okay, we lost the land. We gave it up. People were upset because people died. But like, honestly, we don't care. Our intention is leave us the hell alone. But the problem is we're surrounded by them.
Wow.
Like, we don't have, we have a very slim area where like, it's like Russia is kind of there to help us, but everything else is we're in the crap. So it's a tough position for Armenia. Same with you guys, right? You don't have a spot or backing. Like, you're kind of like just stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
The difference is though, is at least we have a country. Yeah. You guys are even like, holy shit.
They're both fucked, but ours is very fucked. Before I kind of draw similarities to Palestinians and kind of explain for anyone who's listening to this that doesn't know about Israeli-Palestine conflict, is there like a solution in mind, or is there a goal that you would love to see? Was there something that you'd love to see, to say that like, that's what I wanted, or that's what the people of Armenia wanted?
Here's what needs to happen. And I'll tell you this. People in Azerbaijan, not the extremist. First off, any extremist of any people is disgusting. Let's get that out on the table. I love everybody. If you're an extremist, get the hell out of my face. I don't like you. Okay, I love my country, but that doesn't mean that I give my right to my country to go slaughter people.
Doesn't justify any inhumane acts.
Exactly. So the problem is there are extremists in Turkey and there are extremists in Azerbaijan, and unfortunately they're mostly the religious ones. Gotcha. Like the hardcore. Yeah. Those guys are nuts. Yeah. Now, most of the people in Turkey actually revolt against the government. They don't like Erdogan. Erdogan is a horrible person. He screws over his own people.
And that is the
Turkish president. Okay. Aliyev is the president of Azerbaijan. They're getting the name. Of. So Erdogan they're both piece of shit. They're dictators. Okay. Sure. And so what happens is the Turkish people don't even want Erdogan there. And fortunately, Erdogan is actually dying and he's sick. And that's, I think, why he's pushing the agenda now, because he wants to conquer. he wants to connect. The idea is they have maps and they do these like presentations, but they have maps of like Azerbaijan and Turkey connecting, like get rid of these people, wipe them off the face of the earth, destroy any evidence that they've been there. Wow. And Turkey and Azerbaijan have been committing crimes, like areas where they control, like there's tombstones and stuff, graves of Armenia that's, you know, like historically valuable, like they're very, very old, like it, and it's protected stuff, like it should be international law protects it. They just bulldoze through them and they destroy them and like they don't want, and it's like, come on, even
international
if, law. So what happens is they want that to happen, but the Turkish people don't like Erdogan himself. So I feel like what's the ideal solution is if Erdogan is removed from power by their own people, and if Aliyev is also removed from power, and people have an actual a democratic state. And I think if that happens, people can live in peace. People can be happy. Obviously, it's never going to be perfect, but it'll be better than this.
What it is now.
Right. So what about you?
Wow, dude. I honestly, thanks for sharing. I actually didn't know the intricacies of like.
I'm not an expert at it though.
No, listen, I'm no expert in the Palestinian-Israeli issue happening right now, but at the same time, we both have direct connections. Our families, are displaced from it. Yeah. I literally had no idea how many similarities. So for anyone that's listening to this or watching that doesn't know about the Israeli Palestinian issue that's going on right now, it's obviously taken social media by storm, which is something that's never happened in the history of our, disagreements, let's call them, even though it's a lot worse than that. Yeah. And so what happens is essentially Palestinians, we lived in a country called Palestine in 1948 and prior. And Palestine was a country that had Jews, it had Muslims, it had Christians, it has Jerusalem, which is like literally the holiest land. It's got like three of the most holy places for each of the religions. And then what happened is, and this again, obviously I'm a Palestinian, and so this is my side of it. But in 1948, what essentially happened is the Holocaust was happening prior to that. Mm-hmm. And that's sad, obviously. Like I think any human being will sympathize with what Jews have been dealing with for hundreds of years. At the time, this ideology was born called Zionism. Mm-hmm. Zionism is an ideology that believes we need to give Jewish people a safe home, and that home will come at any expense. We just need to give Jewish people a safe home, which in premise is not a bad thing. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So at the time that Jews were being massacred, Palestine essentially said, hey, come here.
Oh, you guys said come here.
Literally, there's a ship. There's a ship. There's pictures of a ship. I don't know about that. Wow. Yeah, there's a picture of a ship saying, we're looking for any any country to find refugee in, right? Now, it's also important for me to like kind of address, because I'm very unbiased in this situation, although people are like, no, you're not, you're Palestinian. But I do try and approach this from an unbiased manner. On the Jewish side of things, they believe they're entitled to this land from the days of Judea, which is they believe that this land is rightfully theirs from like centuries ago. Okay. So for them, it's more of, this is our holy land. We deserve it. And it's going to be ours. And that's why Jews belong here. Anyways, so in 1948, and essentially once the Holocaust was happening, Zionism was born, and Zionism essentially crept into the British government. And what happened is the British government, when the Ottoman Empire was destructed, and it used to be Jordan and Egypt and Palestine were all kind of one. It was the Ottoman Empire. That kind of fell apart, and then each of those countries became separate. And then Palestine itself fell under British rule. And what happened was Britain said, we are going to declare this country through, it's called the Balfour Agreement. We're going to declare this country Israel, and it's going to be home for Jews, for a safe place for Jewish people to find refuge in. So in 1948, the country got changed to Israel from Palestine. And what started off as something good, which is giving people a place to feel safe, started turning into illegal settlements, kicking Palestinians out of their land. Slowly but surely, the Israeli army and government started gaining power. With that power, they started abusing it, and then they started violating human rights laws. The land, essentially in 1948, when it got turned to Israel, there was obviously a big war, and that war lasted, I mean, it's still ongoing, but from 1948 to 1967, it got so severe that even Britain was like, okay, you know what? Even though we gave, this land is now Israel, we're going to back out of this because we can't deal with this. Like, this is too much going on. And the UN came in, essentially said, hey guys, you got to play nice. Palestine, you got to play nice. Israel, you got to play nice. And the UN said, this is our plan, and you guys have to follow it. And so they split, just like Armenia. They kind of said, okay, this is for you and this is for you. What's happened since 1967 is through illegal settlements, the lands, just like you guys, has continued to shrink and shrink and shrink. And with the shrinking of land means either people being evicted out of their homes, like homeless, or being stuck into Gaza, which, if you don't know Gaza, I mean, it's one of the worst places on earth. It's hell there. It's like an open air jail. People aren't allowed in. People aren't allowed out. There's blockades, like 20-foot walls. Literally aid. It's hard for aid to even come into there. Israel has control over electricity. They often shut it off like 3-4 days of the week. It's just so sad what's happening there. So right now what's happened is this war has kind of been ongoing. And again, it's not a war. I have to be careful with the words I'm using. It truly is a one-sided oppression against us. But recently, these illegal settlements started happening again in an area in East Jerusalem called Sheikh Jarrah. And in Sheikh Jarrah, people were being kicked out of their homes, and they started protesting. And that protest led to Palestinians in Jerusalem wanting to protest and stand up with them. And then when these people in Jerusalem started standing up for the people in Sheikh Jarrah who were getting kicked out of their homes, Israeli forces essentially said, shut the fuck up, and tried to essentially abuse them through flash grenades in the mosque, like disgusting stuff. Okay. That then led to Hamas, which is now introduce Hamas, right?
I know Hamas. But
so this is where a lot of the dispute between the subject matter is, because a lot of Israeli Jewish people believe that Hamas is at fault for a lot of the things that Palestinians face. Whereas we believe that, first of all, we were facing oppression, occupation, illegal settlements far before Hamas ever existed. So for us to blame it on Hamas is not a thing. Second of all, as you said, in Armenia and Turkish people, there are certainly extremists on both sides. I'm sure there are people in the Hamas organization who want every Jew on earth wiped. And just as there are Zionists, extreme right-wing ones, who believe that Palestinians and Muslims and anyone for that matter also deserves to be kicked out, killed, and out of. And there's quotes and videos of people saying horrendous things on both sides. Yeah. So the problem is, at what point do you justify crimes against the people? Because for me to say that, I'm only doing this because you're doing that we're never going to get anywhere, because then you're going to say, well, I'm only doing my actions because you're doing your actions. And it's like a tit for tat. And that, so I think the conversation right now that people that are watching need to think about is, let's agree that all violence needs to stop. Yeah. Right. Let's agree that rockets from both, actually, as we speak, literally today, not even an hour ago, I just got news on my phone that there is a ceasefire that's going to be agreed between Hamas and Israel. So this is amazing, right? No more killings, because innocent people don't deserve to die, even though on the Palestinian side, 1,000 times more people are dying than they are on the Israeli side.
Yeah, trust me, I've seen some.
It's not unfair. Very sad
it's not
stuff.
A war.
It's not. It's a one-sided oppression. But now that both sides are going to stop killing each other, now I want to start asking the question to people, okay, now what injustices do you guys face? Because Israelis living in Israel and Palestinians living in Israel do not get the same rights. They do not get the same freedoms. They are treated as second-class citizens. And my biggest my voice and my support for the Palestinian people has always been about equal rights. It's always been a humanitarian issue. It's always been stop killing us. No reason justifies killing us. No reason. No, it's okay to defend yourself, but it's not okay to attack. And as the stronger power, they can defend themselves, but they shouldn't be attacking.
Yeah.
And so I think right now what's happening for the first time ever is that social media is kind of exposing a lot of the fake narratives that we've heard along the years, right? Because for as long as I've been alive and my parents have been alive, media has been controlled by a small few, and the narratives have always been Palestinians are terrorists. Israel is just defending itself. Yeah. And although it is defending itself, I'm not saying it's not defending itself, but it's also attacking. And that's what they're leaving out.
Yeah, it's hard to say attacking when they're defending themselves when they have full military control, and like they're not at
we don't even have a military.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not even a.
And the thing is that a lot of people don't know is that it's actually legal in international law to have a rebel group defend itself from oppression. So if there's an occupied people and an oppressed people, to have a rebel group, if you want to call them, or an organization or a band of people together to try and fight for freedom, to liberate their people, is actually not against any violations.
It's not.
I'm not condoning or saying the killing of innocent people is okay. I'm just saying that we are allowed to fight for themselves. I keep giving the example of when you have a rapist and a woman, and a man is raping, a man is raping a woman, and that girl punches the rapist.
Yeah. It's fine.
She is attacking him.
Yeah,
that's an assault.
Yes,
but it's a justified assault.
Yeah, exactly.
She's being raped.
Yeah.
And the Palestinian people are being massacred.
Yeah.
Just like Armenians. There's thousands of innocent lives over the thousands and thousands of people over the decades, over the years, that have been murdered, and just innocent children. And it's so sad. And yes, there has also been deaths on the other side. But what I think people are forgetting is that the focus is always about like violence. And I hate this conversation about who's losing, who's getting killed more. Like, let's just agree all killing is done.
Yeah.
Because when you remove violence from the conversation, Palestinian suffering doesn't end.
Yeah.
It's actually just starts at violence.
Yeah.
Because after violence, it's unequal rights.
The violence is coming up because of something happening.
Exactly. Right. Whereas in my experience, I will often hear Zionists and right-wing Israelis say that, no, we're just defending ourselves against Hamas and the blockade. It's
always an excuse. It's always an excuse.
And for the first time ever, these narratives are no longer holding true.
Because of social media.
Funny
enough, with us, social media was actually, we're having a hard time. And you guys are actually, I'm very proud to see that I don't know how you guys got so much immense movement in social media, and the uprising of people speaking out has been incredible.
Yeah.
Whereas us, we didn't have that as well. Like Armenians were going out and trying, but we really didn't get the social media movement that we wanted.
Yeah.
And funny enough is that even like people who were advocating, Armenians or even non-Armenian celebrities and people who were advocating and trying to tell people that Armenians are getting slaughtered and this is a genocide, it's a continuation of the genocide. They were getting attacked on social media by organized groups from the Turks and from the Azerbaijani governments that were paying, and there was documents leaked that these guys were paying hundreds of millions of dollars, and we don't have money. We have no money. These guys have oil money, so they were dumping money into politics.
The same shit happens with us. Propaganda is real.
Yeah.
And Israel has been known to fund propaganda, to fund false narratives, to make things about religion and claims of anti-Semitism. Are there anti-Semitic extremists on the Muslim side? Sure. Yeah. Of course, like I would be lying to myself to say that there isn't. Mm-hmm. There is. Just as I believe there are also people out there that want Muslims dead and Palestinians gone. And there are officials, like government officials in Israel on record saying the horrendous things about getting rid of Palestinians and wiping them off the face of the earth or flattening them in Gaza. And so again, this conversation about the killings and who's the worst killer, it's the wrong conversation. The killings need to stop. But they refuse to let go of this focus because they know that that's where their struggle lies. It's just in the killings where they're also being killed. But if you remove that out, there's a list of other things Palestinians face that Israelis will never know what is like.
Yeah, it's a very simple premise you're saying. It's like two kids, they're fighting.
Yeah.
But why are they fighting? Is it because one kid's bullying the other and the other kid wants to be left alone?
Exactly.
Then who's at fault? If they're fighting because the kid's trying to defend themselves and now there's a fight.
Exactly.
Ignore the fight. What's the problem?
Exactly.
Right? And I understand.
And I also think it's important to recognize, back to the anti-Semitism, that when we criticize a state, when we criticize a country, when I say that Canada's shit because it's locking down its people and that, that's not needed to like contain the spread of COVID. What's the predominant like religion? It's probably Catholics.
I don't know, actually.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure majority of religion that resides in Canada are people are Catholics, but it's not an attack on that.
Well, it's not an attack on
Canadians. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not an attack either. I'm not attacking Jewish people, and I'm certainly not saying that every Israeli is thinking the way the government thinks.
I'll explain something to you. I've been raised from my experience of being raised in a tight-knit community, same like the Jews. I feel like Armenians and Jews are actually very similar in that sense, that we have a very strong diaspora because they've been through a genocide and we've been through a genocide. We do actually share a lot of commonalities and we're very close. Armenians and Jews are not enemies per se, but we share a lot of commonalities because of our history. And the same way that Jews are very tight, the Armenians are also a very tight-knit community. And it's a blessing. I've been raised in a community center. I went to Armenian school. Like, I have a very small group of Armenian friends that are very close to me. And, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. But there is something that I also see within that circle that I don't like. And that's the ideology of, people who are too far gone into that mindset that Armenia's better, we're the greatest. Everyone else is like, it doesn't exist that much. I feel like in the Jewish community, maybe it's a bit more than the Armenians. Thank God that we're not that bad. But there are, even in our community, there's those people that are like, everybody else is, screw those people. And you see that in like families. They're like, how you can't speak to them. You can't speak to these kinds of people. Don't bring me a Muslim. Don't. It's that's racism, bro.
The reality is this, bro. Zionist ideology, it came from a good place, but it got ugly because it started happening at the expense of another people.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's my thing is that anyone that's listening, right? Like when I speak out for Palestinian rights, and when I speak out to free Palestine, it's not saying kill Israelis or wipe out Jews. It's saying free my people so we can both.
You're not even
safe.
saying have control and put us in power.
Personally, I'm okay with the name of a country is irrelevant to me. I don't care if it's the name of the country is Georgia, Ramsey, call it Israel. I'm fine. In Israel, just give my people the equal rights that they deserve. That's all I want. And sure, you're gonna find extremists that say, no, fuck that. We want everything. But I would say for the majority of Palestinians, this is a humanitarian issue. This is an issue of people being oppressed, stripped of their human rights, and just illegal colonialism happening. Colonialism happening
I saw
everywhere.
Those videos, man. It was crazy. Like there was a guy that came into a Palestinian person's home and he's like, they knew each other, and he's like, if I don't do it, and if I don't take it home, someone else will. I'm like, what the hell kind of thing is that?
That was probably the video that started. That's the one that started everything going viral, where this Jewish settler came into someone's house and just walked up and literally said, "This is my home." And they're like, "What do you mean this is home? We've been living here for the past years." And they're like, "Listen, we're taking this. If I don't take it, somebody else is going to take it." And he was saying it
sympathetically, like it's so ingrained in their mindset. They're like, "Look, this is just how life is. I can't do anything about it."
And that's where I'm trying. Like, I bet you sympathize in the struggle is that when Armenians just want their rights, it's not even that it should come at the expense of the Turkish people or the Azerbaijan.
They don't want to have anything to do with them. They just want to live. And the funny thing is like when they were taking over the lands and we conceded our lands in Azerbaijan, because that was more of a war. Yours wasn't. Ours was we had a military. It was like a voluntary military, but it was somewhat of a military that we're fighting over that borderline. Whenever they decide that we can't win anymore and they have they have an actual army, like an actual country, like we couldn't take it. When they conceded, those those elderly people and the people living in those homes, they were burning the homes. And they're like, I'd rather see my house burned to the ground than see those guys who are killing my kids to come and live in my house.
Exactly.
And then that happened. And then unfortunately, some of them didn't end up leaving. They're so damn stubborn that they ended up being, prisoners of war.
Yeah.
And only fairly recently, some of them have been coming out and they've been getting tortured. And it's just like it's pretty sad, man. It's a hard thing to watch, but
it's also tough. You know, I have a lot of Jewish friends, bro. I have a lot of Israeli friends, like Israeli Jewish friends. And I honestly sympathize with a lot of them because imagine something you're told your entire life, which stemmed from a good place. And this is what I keep reiterating is that their fight to feel safe was a very warranted thing.
Yes.
Because of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But what's happened over the years is that power and corruption from Zionist ideologies have turned what was a good cause into something that's coming at the expense of another people. Yeah. And all Palestinians want to know is that you deserve your freedom, but it shouldn't come at the expense of our freedom. And I think it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of Israeli people because they grew up hearing, and the thing is, Levon, is that it's not just me saying this. There are so many Israeli Jews coming out now saying this. It's not my opinion. It's like, I'm just listening to what they're saying, and they're coming out saying, guys, we were brainwashed and told a false narrative growing up.
I actually had a personal experience with that with us, with what happened with Armenians. One of my clients, he is a Muslim and he was from, he's Iranian, but he lived in Turkey for a very long time. I think he studied there. And I remember when this whole conflict was happening and I was posting, and he really likes me, he respects me. So when I started to post these things, he immediately called me within the week and he said, Levon, can you please explain to me what's going on? Because I see what you're saying. Everything you're saying makes sense. And I get it. He goes, but I don't like the side of the story that I know is not matching to what you're saying. So either you're completely lying and you're trying to what's going on, or what I know is not right. So, and he said his whole life he lived in Turkey. The narrative that he was taught, the narrative that he showed on the news, and everything he learned was completely wrong. Yeah. And even to the point where we actually crossed the story together that I mentioned by chance, and he's like, I remember that day. There was an Armenian author, a writer that was actually shot and killed in Turkey.
Oh, wow.
His name was Haram Dink, and he basically spoke out against the Turkish government and whatever, and basically the Turkish government assassinated him, and he was dead on the street, and he had a newspaper covered on his face. And I remember that whole story blew up, and everyone around the world was talking about it. But funny enough is when I said that, he stopped me and he said, is that Haram Dink you're talking about, the guy who got killed? And when we were talking, and he goes, I go, how the hell did you know that name? He goes, I never knew what happened to that guy. He goes, I was in Turkey when that happened. I wasn't too far from it. And I remember it was on the news for one day. It was all over the news that someone got killed at front of a building downtown, somewhere central. And the day after that, nothing. There was not a word about that person. No one knew what that. And he's like, I always thought something was up because why is there a killing that looked like an assassination or like a targeted hit? And he goes, the news never covered it. And I never found that. He goes, my curiosity to find out what happened to that guy, and it stayed in his memory till now. And then when I explained it to him, he's like, they blocked all sources of information to anybody. So the whole point is Turkey does the same thing. Israel will do the same thing. And it's not the people's fault. It's just that the people don't learn or know anything, right? Wow. It's that these few people in power who want something will force this idea
down their throats.
And you think it's only Israel or Turkey? No, think about the States. Okay, people in the States have no fucking clue. Do you know the stuff with 9/11 and the military going into let's say Vietnam, where they went into Iraq, or it's all a play, or
even
them.
Just racism, against the white, what happened with George Floyd.
Yes,
I have to say that. Were there a lot of protests for Armenian people when they were just going through what they went through?
Yes,
recently?
there was.
Okay, because for us, was that before BLM or after?
After.
After? Okay, because I have to say that the Black Lives Matter movement was a massive catalyst in Palestinian voices being heard.
Really?
Yes, because I think the concept of... So with Black Lives Matters, it was about Black people saying, listen, I know you may not see it all the time, but we're constantly facing injustices, and we caught it red-handed. And there was a few examples. First, it was the killing of George Floyd. And then there was that other lady in a park saying, I'm going to call the police on you and say you're black, as if that's like, and I think those things on social media kind of caught the true injustices happening real time. And so when people use that to protest, I think the same thing Palestinians recognized was like, wow, we're actually like seeing these things happening real time. And now not only do Palestinians speak about it, but individual Israeli Jews are also coming out saying, hold up, like I want to re-question the things I've been taught, because I think a lot of Jewish people do recognize that their safety shouldn't come at the expense of Palestinians. Yeah. And unfortunately, not all, like I would say the majority of them don't think that, but slowly it's starting to change, and that's important.
And you gotta understand how hard it is for a group of people. Okay, like let's say the Israelis or the Turks or the Azerbaijani. And the funny thing is, man, I know so many people like that are one of my good friends. His girlfriend is Azerbaijani. I have Turkish friends. I have Israeli friends. I have Palestinian friends. I have so. How we're struggling because our people are getting oppressed. Our cousins, our grandparents, and the people that we know are dying. So yes, it does hurt. But you gotta understand how hard it is for a Turkish person or an Azerbaijani person or an Israeli person who's like, okay, I love my country, I love my people, I love my flag, I love my culture, I love my food, right? And now to be sitting there in the global eye and be like, oh, my people or certain people in my country or my race are doing this. Mm-hmm. That is not an easy thing to accept. Like, it's a hard thing. Like, I would be traumatized if Armenia was doing.
Your whole identity is being questioned. Yes. Everything you grew up believing, everything, and that's why I tell you, I'm very privileged, and so are we. For growing up in Canada, we're able to be a little bit further removed from the deep like scars of our parents and grandparents' conflict. Yeah. So for me, some of my best friends are Jewish Israelis, like straight Israeli Jews. And one guy in particular, he's like a brother to me. Like this guy, I want to have him at my wedding party. He's my brother. And that will never end because of our difference in views. But I think what the important thing is that because I have such a close connection to him, I sympathize with him because I feel like even though he sees and knows, it's like goes against everything he's ever been taught.
And he's a good person, and it's not like his fault. And it's like now it's a matter of it's the same with white people.
But it does take courage to speak out.
Yes, it does.
And that's the thing, that's the hard thing, and that's the thing. And I think there are Israelis that are speaking out saying
they are.
Zionism was put down our throats. And it's brave, especially when Israelis have been known to master propaganda and fearmonger. There's a lot of pressure on their people to never go against because of the scars through the Holocaust. And that's the hard thing, right? That's why you have to sympathize with them. But there are people coming out now, and that's the game changer.
Those people are the ones that I think are the true heroes.
They are.
Because like even when during the Armenian genocide, do you know how many Turkish people were saving Armenians and taking on orphan Armenian kids and hiding them and changing their last names and they were risking their lives doing this. And those are the real heroes because they don't need to do it. Like if your people are oppressed, you don't have a choice.
Exactly.
You are in a fight. You don't have a choice. You're gonna fight.
Exactly.
Right? But those guys who can just walk away and be free and not care, to step in and say I'm gonna put my life on the line for others is heroic by any means. It's incredible, and I applaud those guys for doing that. And I've seen that. I've seen the videos of the Israelis that are coming out and speaking up, and those people are brave.
You nailed it, bro. You nailed it because, like I said, when the killings are done and no one's no longer fearing being killed, Israelis will go back to their normal life in Israel, and that life that they go back to is 1,000 times better than the life that the Palestinian has to go back to.
And given it might, even if stuff gets better, maybe Israeli life will still be better. They have more money, they have more infrastructure, and Palestinian life won't be good. But at least there has to be some form of a change to start giving them the opportunities to start to grow 100%. And develop back.
And that's the thing. I would say that for you, because again, we're born here and we're a lot more progressive, and we're like, for us, progress is more important than anything else. Yes. And so I don't think you're saying we need to take over parts of Turkey to justify what happened to us. No,
we don't even want our lands back.
We just want to be left alone. We just want to have the right to grow in peace, to not be, not further protect ourselves from more fucking, illegal settlements. And that's exactly what I want for my people. I just want Palestinians to have the land that they were initially agreed on in 1967. And I just want them to have equal rights. I want, so when my grandma was kicked out of her home and my grandpa, and they found a refugee camp in the neighboring country, Jordan, that's in that refugee camp is where my mom was born. My grandma ended up having 9 kids. And so some of the kids decided, my mom had moved to Canada because she got married to my dad. And then some of the other aunts and uncles, they said, no, we've started our life in Jordan and we just want to keep it here. Those family members of ours who stayed in Jordan are not allowed into Israel. And any Palestinian that found refuge in Lebanon or Egypt or anywhere around, they are literally not allowed. They will not be permitted access to go into Israel. The only reason I can go in there, the only reason my grandma is because we're Canadian. Yeah. And that's what we talk about, equal rights for Palestinians versus Israelis, because it doesn't matter where you're from in the world, how far removed you are, whether you were born in a different country and the kids were born in that different country as well. If there is Israeli heritage, you are allowed, and not only just allowed, there's birthright where they're encourage them to go through this, in my opinion, Zionistic brainwash system.
What actually bothers me the most is that I didn't know about this was that when all this happened, that you guys were actually the ones to call in the Jewish people to say that come and find refuge.
Yeah,
that in itself is a really messed up thing, because if let's say if that's the situation, then they're basically oppressing the people that saved them.
Literally,
it's really messed up.
There's, like I said, there's a picture of Jews on a boat, and it. I can look it up.
Yeah, trust me, that's the one thing that bothers me, and I'll tell you this right now.
What?
One of the things that I don't like about certain Muslim people in this country is that there's too many extremists that come in and try to push a narrative. And the same with Christian. I don't like people that come into countries that try to help and push their agendas.
100%.
Don't do that shit. Come in, live peacefully, live happy. I hate any kind of extremist religions that come in and try to push a narrative. It's not necessary.
The thing is this, Levon. The thing is that, in my experience with very right-wing Israelis, they continue to focus on extremists. They will. It's look at this video of someone saying fuck Jews, kill Jews, and then they say look at this video of someone saying cut off heads of Jews. And I'm like, why are you even engaging in that? Because they don't represent a majority of the people. Exactly. The same way that I have videos of people saying fuck Muslims,
but that's
kill
not
all
a government,
Palestinians.
it's not a power. It's so why bother?
So for me, I'm like, stop focusing on extremism, because they don't represent a majority. The majority of Palestinians are innocent, good people like myself who just want to live their lives, man. They just want to have the equal freedom to grow up and be a doctor one day or a fucking teacher one day without having to worry that their home is just going to get invaded, or without having to be harassed when they're in the street.
And then the funny thing is the more they push those oppressive measures, the more the Palestinian people will become rebellious, the more they'll become
it's not that we'll become rebellious. The more we're going to defend ourselves.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is you force that into them. They want to live a normal life and go to school and educate themselves and live happy amongst everybody. But then they're forcing them to hate the Israeli people because it's they're killing us, so we have no choice but to hate you.
Exactly. Like I said, I'll continue bringing this up. You will never fault a woman who's being raped for punching her rapist.
Yeah.
And I also gave this other example to a friend of mine when we were having a conversation, is that a lot of the things I hear is we have blockades and walls and stuff like that because we want to protect ourselves from extremists. And to that I say, in America, you have the KKK. Okay, you have a group of white people that want to kill any other race because they believe they're the supreme race. Yes. So now, using the justification of what they do, I say, in America, we need to create a wall, four walls are 20, and every single white person in America, we need to stuff them in there. We need to strip their human rights. We need to
because
cut
the
off
KKK
electricity.
is so dangerous.
Because we don't know what white person's KKK and which one what is it. We're just being cautious. We're just being cautious. We don't know. But the thing is, you can't suppress an entire race because of a minority group. Yes. And I don't like to give this example because the KKK and Hamas, in my opinion, are not the same.
No.
Although there are bad people in both, the KKK is just fucking racist. Hamas is a rebel group trying to liberate its people.
Look, I'll tell you something though. Even though the KKK is bad, if the KKK, bad people can do good things. Remember this.
Correct.
So even if, let's say, Hamas is bad.
Yes.
He is doing something right now that's good because he's helping a group of people because he has an interest, right? Because it's his people. So he's stepping in. So even if Hamas is a bad person and is a bad group, it doesn't matter.
The group, yeah.
Like, for example, like Lebanon had the same thing with Hezbollah, right? Yeah. He's a bad person, sure. But he was doing something to help, right? Because it was in his best interest. Exactly. So at the time, it was good. So the same with the KKK. If the KKK came in and defended a group of innocent children from something, well, you know what? They did a good deed. Yeah. Doesn't mean they're good people. You know what I mean? So that
also, a lot of people don't know that Hamas, I think I mentioned this already, right? Hamas was created in 1987. Okay. The oppressions and the violations and crimes that Palestinians have been facing has been happening since 48. So don't it's just this blame on Hamas. It's just a false narrative.
Yeah, but you understand, even if, let's say, Hamas was created just for the oppression, let's just say, well, no shit is going to happen. Is if you're killing people and taking their homes, people are going to find something to defend themselves 100%. With and band together. 100%. So, you know, you can't push a narrative of like, oh, these people are so dangerous and they're fighting back, like they're fighting and they're doing causing violence. Yeah. Well, yeah, because they don't have freedom. Exactly. So they don't have a choice.
And you know what? Listen, if those extremists are going to, let's pretend that the walls go down and now like Palestinians can travel freely, whatever. Deal with them. Then deal with them.
The Palestinians would deal with them. Like, you understand, if they got freedom and those people were jeopardizing their freedom and their rights, the Palestinian people would go in and take care of those people because they'd be like, don't you dare ruin our
freedom. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
It's bullshit. It's everyone plays that angle to try to get away with something because they have an internal goal. It's all about money, man. Money drives everything.
I got to say this, though. I got to say that never in my life did I ever think the world would see it for what it is, the way that it's happening now. Never in my life did I ever think that, you know what, our people are not free. They're not close to being free. Israel is still one of the most powerful countries in the world. They've got probably the third or fourth strongest military in the world.
Yeah. I don't understand how.
Dude, they're fucking... Jews and Israelis are some of the smart. Jews has nothing to do with it; it's a religion, but they're some of the smartest people. They're very smart, and good for them, right? Like we want them to prosper the same way that I want my people to prosper. The thing is this: do I think my people will be liberated tomorrow? Absolutely not.
No chance.
But I have to sit back and smile because we are getting closer to that place. Yeah. What's happening now on social media is putting international pressure on other countries to step in and say, Israel, you got to lift off what you're doing. And also we got to hold them accountable because they are getting away with crimes. And the only reason they're able to get away with crimes is because they're in bed with the U.S. Turkey. And the U.S.
Same thing with us.
Exactly. And the U.S. is the world power right now. And the U.S. is making a lot of money off of their war. They just
700 million or something.
735 million deal to fund the Israeli military.
In my opinion, I feel like I'm almost disgusted with our society because at the point that we're at now, with the information that we have and the amount that we've evolved, I don't think any oppression. I don't think North Korea should be a thing. I don't think what China is doing should be a thing. I don't understand how we live such great lives, but yet we can't figure this shit out.
It's fucked, dude.
It's too much power, and I feel like the whole concept of having we're not a democratic country. Like in general, like we don't have true democracy where people's voices matter. It's bullshit. It's a facade. Honestly, I feel like money and power still controls everything.
Ontario proved that with the lockdown.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, exactly. The amount of money thing made, it was Rob Ford or Doug. Rob.
No, R.I.P. Rob Ford.
Yeah, Rob
Doug
Ford.
Ford.
I like Rob. Yeah, Doug Ford. The amount of money he made. You saw how much he made, right?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, from 3 million to like 50 million.
If we were a true democracy, the vast majority of people wanted this lockdown to end in Ontario, and yet there's no real, and I've told this to people for years, and especially that I've been in the crypto space, and I've preached that like governments and banking and this whole infrastructure, it's controlled. It's so controlled, and people just live blindly to it. Okay, and people seeing it now more and more. Whether it's the economy, whether it's stuff like this, conflicts that are happening, and people are realizing people don't actually have real freedoms. You kind of live under the bubble of wherever you are, and you kind of have to deal with it. Anyways, man, that's essentially what it comes down to, man. If there's anyone listening to this, I just want to remind everyone that Palestinian people, we want our freedom. When we yell and chant free Palestine, it means give our people equal rights as Israeli citizens. It means end the occupation. It means end the illegal colonialism. It means end the illegal settlements. That's what it means. We just want to have the same freedom and the same life as Israeli people do in Israel. And I implore all my Israeli friends and Jewish friends to remind themselves that your freedom does not equal, like our freedom does not equal your demise. And my freedom means your freedom. And my freedom, nothing justifies, no reason justifies these illegal crimes that are happening in Palestine. So I'm really happy with the progress so far. I do think that the world is definitely opening their eyes and seeing past this propaganda. And I
was kind of jealous, to be honest. I got a little jealous because I was like, how are they doing so well with the social media push, and we were struggling?
Honestly, man, I don't know what it. I don't like. I'm just trying to think of what it's like. I don't know what it is. It's been an ongoing thing. Yeah. I mean, so is yours, right? Yeah. But I feel like there's just been a lot more deaths. I feel like the explosion, it's just louder.
Yes, it is. It's louder.
I feel like yours, you know what the problem is that like, it's the status quo that's the issue for both of us, right? Everyone agrees that the killings and all need to stop, but it's then what? Those status quos need to change. So
100%, man. And look, I'll agree with you that whole social media thing. Do you know how many people bombarded me and they were pissed? Like, I guess people, not even Palestinian, but just anybody. It was especially the Muslims that were like, you talk so much about Armenia and then the oppressions in Armenia and all this stuff. It's like, why don't you speak out for Palestine? Why don't you this? And I'm like, look, I actually have a podcast coming up. And I agree with you. And I said, look, my parents are from Lebanon. Like, I'm raised in the Middle Eastern culture. I have a lot of Muslim friends. Like, don't you think that I'm just like, oh yeah, just because it's Muslims, who cares? That's not true. Yeah, I got attacked a lot on social media, which is a good thing. I wasn't upset. I was like, good for you guys for standing up. And I just had to explain to them.
I honestly, if it were not for the Black Lives Matter movement, again, I do think it was pivotal in kind of what's happened recently, but there was a lot of pressure during the Black Lives Matter movement to speak out.
Yes.
Because I do believe that your silence is just fueling the problem.
Yes.
Dude, I have so many friends who have reached out to me that I've said, I want to say something, but I can't. And that's because Jewish Israelis, there's a lot of them in high positions of power.
Very high.
And so people fear the consequences. And you know what? It's like, that's why I'm saying it takes a lot of courage for people to speak up. But there are... Our new generation, like the millennials and the kids
now they're seeing
up,
that they can make a difference. That
that their voice matters. And I these kids, man, they're fucking brave. Like they stand up for all issues. They don't give a fuck. They're like LGBTQ. That's what it was. LGBTQ. Racism against black people, the fight for Palestinians, anything, man, any human rights and like injustices and any human rights issues, kids are just like,
because you know what? They don't have fear. Kids don't have fear. And you know, it's a strong thing. And they come out in both ways, though, in a kind of like a devil's advocate point of view. Sometimes it's a little too much. But you know what? We need it. And sometimes the world needs this shock and they need the push to be like, enough is enough, and people are going to stand up. And I'm very happy to see it. I hope it keeps going. I hope they keep protesting, and I hope that you guys put enough pressure on our Canadian government, the U.S. and anywhere else, so that they actually forced, because I know they're not going to do it willingly.
No.
But at least force them in the position where, they're like, I guess we don't have a choice but to act.
Yes.
And to do something.
That's the only thing that, and a lot of people are like, why do you want me to post on social media? I'm like, bro, because no one else is standing up for us. So it starts with the people. And then once it's the social media, then it becomes people in political positions, and it's already started happening. There are people in the U.S. government voting, who are putting sanctions on the money that's being sent to Israeli military. So it's going to take time, but I'm hopeful.
I think Bernie Sanders did. Or
Bernie Sanders is a fucking spokesperson for Palestinians in the political world. That man's a great guy, but. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, man. Well, hopefully it all gets better soon. Hopefully the violence, at least, the ceasefire news, hopefully it persists.
Yeah.
Because ours didn't and never
I mean,
happened.
for our whole lives, listen, this has happened before. The rockets have gone and then the ceasefires. What I'm hoping that is going to be different this time is that the change will continue after the ceasefire, because that's always been our issue and your issue. Like, as it is right now, Armenian people are still suffering as it is. And so, when you remove killings, we're still suffering. And so I hope that there will be enough pressure, continued international pressure. And there are countries that are stepping in for the first time. Italy, like, boycott is one of the greatest methods to create change. It's been proven time and time again over the years.
Business, money matters, man.
Because money matters. Exactly. But other than that, bro, while I've been dealing with the Palestinian conflict and all that, I've just been watching my crypto wallet slowly diminish. But
it's okay. It's coming back up.
We have a little bet that Bitcoin's going to hit 100K. I mean, you think it's going to hit 100K?
I think it's going to hit 100K US.
I don't, and I don't think so, because I think we both agree that the market's manipulated.
Yes.
And I think that people that know, everyone, I mean, not everyone, but I certainly think that Bitcoin's going to go up over 100K eventually. Yeah. But I think right now we're going to continue to accumulate. We're going to continue to see a few more drops and hover around this 30K to, like, say 50K region for a little bit before we start taking off.
Yeah. So difference of opinions. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to find out what happens. Hopefully you're wrong. And
I mean, listen, I actually want to be wrong.
Yeah, I know.
But at the same time, I never thought in my life I would ever see Bitcoin go back down to 28. I don't think you ever thought it would.
Well, back down to 20?
28, where it touched 28 yesterday.
Honestly, I did.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I didn't think it was. I think it was going to hit like 35. Yeah. But it went a little lower, but it rebounded quick. So I knew that would happen. There was a chance that if there was market manipulation, that we could hit those numbers, and we did. And that's why I always had like Tether and some other currencies that like that I was ready to like turn into like convert. Unfortunately, I wish I did more. I wasn't that prepared. I've been back in the day, I used to trade a lot. Like, I used to be more on top of my own funds.
Yes.
I used to be like, Bitcoin's moved this much, Ethereum went this, and I used to be on top of it. And now I'm just so busy with work and the business, and it's just like, oh, okay, did it go down again? Okay. Well,
do you get yourself involved in all these like little shit coins that were taking off, or no?
No.
The Safe Moons and the fucking...
No, God, no, I don't support Safe Moon. I don't support any of that garbage. Yeah. That's just bullshit.
Dogecoin?
No, God, no, fuck no. No, it's not. Look, and I used to own the decent amount of Dogecoin back in the day.
Really?
I think I did the math that if I had kept it from 2015, I would have been sitting on like 4.5 million just off my $1,000 or something close to that. But again, to me, it's like that money is bullshit, because it's not... I invest off of principle on tech. What's going to change the future? Not this meme took off this year and everyone made money, like Robin Hood shit. Like, I don't care about that. That's
like
not my principle.
AMC and the whole.
You want to go to a casino and gamble? Go gamble. You want to play scratch ticket? Go do that. Yeah, you can make a lot of money. You could have $50 million if you hit the lotto max. But I'd rather make my $50 million with my hard work. And my intelligence.
And it's purposeful.
Yeah, we use your intellect and do it the right way. Don't just like, wow, look, I threw it. And then you get people all the time. They're like, I know this guy did great in crypto. He bought this coin, it went 1,000x, and now he's got $1 million. I'm like, he doesn't know anything.
Yeah,
he just bought a coin and got lucky. Good for him. Lottery. And I have gotten lucky with some coins. I won't lie. Like, I have a lot of stuff that I got lucky with. They were better than crap coins. Like, they weren't meme coins, but I have done good. But no, man, the crypto market is still doing great. The market is solid as it's ever been.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried at all. Just keep collecting. Right now we have a big sale, Black Friday sale. Okay. It's a great sale. So
Did you collect more?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
100%, man. It's like I actually get happier when it goes down. I don't get sad.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I do want it to see go down a little more, because I know in the long run
it'll help.
And
trust me, if it stayed down for like 5-6 months, I'm not complaining. Like I will scoop up
slowly, just start accumulating.
I can accumulate more and more. I actually rather it. I actually don't like it when it goes up and down too much. I like it when it's more stagnant. The reason why is it gives more consistency for business. Because for me, like, because I'm dealing with the crypto space, so when it goes up and it goes down 20%, it's like it's more difficult for me to conduct business. When it's generally more stable, it's much easier for me.
I get you.
So
you could predict the price a little bit easier of where it's going to be.
Just everything gets a little bit easier. So it's good, but regardless, we're making good money.
There's a lot of people that are going to be watching this that are going to probably be like, not new to crypto, but let's say somebody had $20,000. We're not giving financial advice, obviously, but what would you recommend? Just to play it safe with Ether and Cardano and Bitcoin, or to like,
what is that 20 grand to that person, right? Is that 20 grand play money where they have a bunch of assets and a bunch of other stuff that they don't need to worry about? There's a difference, right? And I tell all investors and all the people that come, I tell them, I'm going to give you my personal opinion and my personal strategy, and you should if you want to take the same direction, you can and follow what I do. And people love to know, because I haven't had great success for the last 8 years, 9 years. So I tell them it doesn't matter how great something is. It doesn't matter how much I know for a fact that this price is going to hit here and I can make 100 times my money or 100x, you never take a risk outside of the risk tolerance that you have. So if you're 30 grand ready to invest in crypto or 20 grand ready to invest in crypto, you better have at least $100,000-$200,000 of money sitting around. You have money like, don't go and be like, oh, I've been working for the last 5 years. I made 20 grand and I'm ready to put in that entire 20 grand. Like, man, you need to live a life. And the problem is, and the reason why I say this is because if you put in that 20 grand, let's say, and you put into Bitcoin, Ether, let's say any good coin, there's a lot of good coins out there, Filecoin, and there's a lot. Let's say you do.
You have File?
Yeah, I have Filecoin. It's good.
I was thinking
there's a lot of them out there, man. Okay. And I always post it on my Instagram. So like I always give like I used to do it more. I'm gonna try to do it more and more now and give advice. But you gotta understand something. When crypto goes down like it did today, right? If you're somebody who invested their life savings and then needs that money to live, you just lost.
Yeah.
But I have clients, for example, that had bought crypto when it hit 22,000 in the last bull run. And they put in, 50 grand, 100 grand, and the market went to crap.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, I'm worried. And I said, look, you don't need the money. Leave it. Don't touch it. Trust me. Just leave it. And they did. They listened and they took my advice and they said, okay, you know what? I don't need the money. You're right. Why panic?
Yeah.
I'm going to do what Levon does, and I'm just going to take it easy and just hold on to it, which hodling, And they used the software, and they traded and they created more money. And Bitcoin went back up, and now they're sitting on, 3-something Bitcoins from the one Bitcoin they had. And their 3 Bitcoins are worth they pulled out money. They were laughing.
Exactly.
But the problem is when you invest money that you cannot afford to just leave there,
that's when it becomes an issue.
It becomes an issue, number one, because if you lose it, you screw your life over. Number two is because if you end up needing it and you have to touch it when it's at a loss, then you're really losing. Yeah. You have to be able to put in money and wait, because at the end of the day, when you're investing in the crypto market, you're investing technically in the future currency, in the future, the future of tech.
Of finance too.
Yeah, the financial tech. So what happens is that in 10 years' time, you're doing good. Whether next year, next month, next week is going to be up or down, like if people are like, oh, what is going to happen next month? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can make some predictions and stuff, but you don't know. But I'll tell you this: in 10 years' time, whatever the number is, you're going to be happy. That's what I can tell you. So that's why it's a long-term play, man. You can't invest money and be like, okay, so next week I have a bill to pay, so I need to withdraw. Like, that's dangerous. You can't do that. So that's my advice. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum, I think, is going to do fantastic. I think it'll hit 10K.
Yeah,
for sure.
The end of the year.
We're not going to make a bet on that one, but yes.
Okay.
Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll hit 10K. Their tech is doing fantastic, So, yeah, man, it's definitely a good investment, but it has to be with caution. And in any investing, whether in the stock market, whether in real estate or whatever it is, you have to invest with caution. You have to invest with money that you're willing to lose, so that you put yourself in a good position.
100%.
Never break those principles of investing.
For facts.
Yeah.
Facts. No, I would agree too. And for me, I actually carry in my wallet predominantly like top 20 coins.
Okay.
So like I really don't fuck around with like, I started getting a little FOMO. I'm not going to lie.
Everyone
like
does, man. It's hard not to.
Like I was seeing all these fucking yummy, like all these things on the
Yummy
Binance
coin,
chain, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is like you were seeing the yummy coin and then the fucking ass coin and then all these different coins.
My God,
and these guys making 11,000% overnight. And I'm not going to lie. I took I think half an ether and I'm like, I'll throw it in there. I think at the time a half ether was like, I don't know, $2,000 or something. Wiped, gone. Like it was just like the coin went to shit. I thought I was
caught it tail end.
I thought I was catching it on the up end and I caught it on the tail end and I lost, just got wiped. So that shit happens. And that was just a reminder to say, dude, like you're investing the people, like it is real easy money that comes fast goes fast.
Yes.
And I've learned that myself. And I know people think that they're the exception to the rule. It's not, man.
Man, you gotta see the amount of so-called experts that come out of nowhere.
Oh my God. I'm sure you probably hate it more than me because you've known, like I feel like I was put onto Bitcoin early and I was late compared to you being, I was 2016. So it's like
26. Yeah, that's pretty early still though.
It was still pretty early. Yeah. And I mean, at the time I was like, nah, this shit's not going to do nothing. It was $3,000. I think it was, high 2000s, 3,000 a Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, this is not going to do shit. So I bought it. And then when the price went up to like 15K, triple my money. I'm like, oh my God, 5X my money. I sold everything. I'm like, it's never going to break 15K again. And got rinsed.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's good that you had that experience early on and they've been in it. But yeah, I'm happy to see a lot of people jumping in on it and more people are aware of it.
Do you think, this is a good question for you. Do you think, where are we on the stage of adoption?
Oh God.
I definitely don't think we're early adoption anymore.
We're not early adoption anymore, but I feel like we're in the era of like, let's use internet as an example.
Sure.
Internet early adoption was where no one had a computer at home. Okay. Where it was used in specifically like universities or like large commercial areas or, where you would see a computer or like a big server room. And this was the first 10 years, 15 years of the internet era, I feel like we're at the point where now certain select people, maybe affluent people, or a certain group of people that are a bit more techie are starting to now have a laptop or like a desktop or like a computer.
Think we're that early?
Yeah, we're that early.
No, man.
Yes, man, we're that early.
No, institutions, bro.
No, institutions do stuff first. But that's what I mean. Like the tech, like when internet was adopted, institutions were using it first, but the general public was never had anything in themselves. Like we're not in the, like when I was a kid, when we had a computer at home, I don't think we're at that point yet.
No,
we're not.
Interesting.
I think we're still very early because it's not being used as just the fact that you still look at Bitcoin and say Bitcoin is 20 or 40,000 Canadian means you're still early adopting because you're not looking at Bitcoin as an independent price. You're comparing it to a currency that you feel that is the main principal currency, Canadian dollars, US dollars.
Correct.
We're still comparing it. That's because it's a very minute fraction. And if you look at the financial end of it, crypto's hit like $1 trillion or so. Bro, the NASDAQ is $7 trillion. Okay. And the NASDAQ is it's nothing crazy. It's just
the American economy.
Not the American economy. NASDAQ is just one
exchange.
It's nothing. So crypto should be able to hit the 10, 15, 20 trillion dollar mark for me to start saying that it's becoming a more staple currency in the world. We're very, very early, man. I'm telling you, Bitcoin will be in the millions.
Oh,
okay.
Way.
Bitcoin will hit $1 million.
So many people to say that, and I guess it's the same reason that when it was 3,000, when I saw it at 3,000, I never thought in my life.
When I saw it when it was in the $10 range, like the $60, $50, $90, I'm telling you right now, I still believe that it would hit $1 million. I wasn't like I knew the math, I knew how it would work, I knew the adoption rate that would happen, and I said this is happening. I don't know when exactly it'll happen, but this is coming. Okay. And that mindset has not changed for 9 years, man.
Wow.
Right. And I stick to it.
Wow.
And maybe one day something might happen that might change that mindset. But for now, for the last 9 years, it's been the same mindset.
I don't think it'll ever get that high until Bitcoin becomes an everyday currency.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it's not going to necessarily become an everyday currency. I feel like Bitcoin will be like the gold standard.
I see.
And it'll be the asset reserve, like where people store their assets.
Sure.
But I feel like there'll be other stuff that will become day-to-day currencies. But it'll be based around
I get what you're saying.
Cryptocurrency, which would then make Bitcoin the base for all of it.
Of all of it.
I feel like that's what it is now.
Yeah, that's what gold is, right? Like people invest in gold, but what are you doing? You're not taking gold to go to the shop and say, hey, let me trade with you. Yeah. No, you're just investing your money in a place price that you know is predictable, safe, and this is now the digital version
And
of
man,
it.
even if Bitcoin doesn't hit $1 million, let's just say it gets to 500,000. God, that's insane.
But what do you, and for sure 100,000
For what?
Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Whether it's not at the end of the year, and if I'm wrong, and it's like in 2 years' time, whatever. But it's
gonna go up.
I think by the next halving that we happen, I think we can easily see 500,000.
I don't think a lot of people know about the halving stuff, but
Oh god, that's a long conversation.
search it. Just search up
search
the
up
halving, because the halving will be in 2 years, right? 2024, I think.
Is that 2 years away?
Dude,
No, 3 years. 3 years.
No, because it was in 20.
It's 4 years apart.
It was
so
2020.
2020. So
2024.
2024.
Yeah.
Which is not. It's 3 years.
3 years.
Oh, bro, time is flying way too fast.
Nobody knows what time it is anymore in COVID days.
I don't know what day it is. I don't know what year it is. I don't care.
But I encourage anyone listening to this, just don't be so short-sighted. Yeah. That was my issue, man. I kept thinking I want this $1,000 that I'm investing to turn into $100,000 in 1 year and 2 years.
Yeah.
If I had just fucking bought a Bitcoin and just held on to it from when I bought it at $3,000, I would now have 60. Well, now I have 40 or whatever it's at. But it's just fucking look at the difference.
Yeah, man. It's definitely, young people especially, they think that the world ends in a year.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the mindset. Like next year, that's it. There's nothing else after that.
Spend it all before.
No, man, you have a lot of time. If you're in your 20s as well, come on. You have so much time. You can get rich and be successful at 30. Don't try to be successful today. Stop buying crazy shoes. Stop buying stupid stuff. Save up your money, invest it well, and you'll be very, like, I mean, people look at me all the time, and I love that I do social media a bit like you do. And I have to get back to it, to be honest. I was telling Diogo this before in the other podcast. I have to get back into it. And, you know, young guys look up and they're like, how did you do it? Because I was 24 when I bought my first Rolls Royce, and it was like a good, I guess, I think it was like a marker for me to show the world that it's possible to be
100%.
Successful at that age, and you can do whatever you want, especially that I was a dyslexic kid, and I was known to be like, you're never getting anywhere, teachers, and everyone was like,
100%,
you're not going to have a good future. You're not going to get anywhere.
That's crazy.
Life. And I did, and I pushed myself, and I even was doing really good in education too, because at the universities I was teaching as well, because I was an animal expert. I don't know if you know my past of like me.
No, I didn't know that only recently though, actually.
Yeah. So
you've always been the crypto guy too.
Yeah, right. So before that, I was the reptile guy. Everyone knew me as the reptile guy. So basically, you have to have that patience, and it does take time and a lot of hard work. And people look and they say, "Oh my God, you're so lucky." I'm like, you don't understand, man. For a very big chunk of my life now, since I was 16, I have been working so hard. Until this day, my friends, like, they'll come over and, you know, they'll be like hanging out waiting for me to like come chill. Yeah. And they'll have the shisha ready and they'll have the drinks ready. They're all trying to drink and the shisha's almost done. And I'm still on the laptop. Like, give me one more second. I got one more call. I got one more person. Like, people don't understand. I work really hard. Yeah. Morning to night, I really push myself. Yeah. It's not healthy sometimes, I know, but I'm still not satisfied. I still want more success. I want to make sure my family's okay. I want to make sure my friends and everyone is safe and making good money. And, you know, I'm trying hard. And I feel like one day I will come to a point where I'll stop. I'll try to relax. But
once that Bitcoin hits over 100K.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's you have to work hard, and there's no such, even if you look at me and they're like, oh, you must have bought Bitcoin and now you're loaded. No, it doesn't work that way, man. Yeah. I worked hard, and you should work hard too. You should work out hard every day. You should get a second job. You should make a lot of money and then take that money and invest that money and stop spending that.
100%.
Stop wasting your money. Go and invest it. Work hard. Go back and invest. And I have a lot of kids that come to me. They're like, oh, this is doing great, or the software is doing great. We're making good money, so I'm gonna quit my job. And I'm like, are you insane?
Yeah, I know.
If you're not sitting on $2-3 million, what the hell are you quitting your job? Exactly. I don't care if your job is garbage.
Exactly.
If you have nothing else, and you're not gonna sit around and watch TV all day.
Facts.
Go work, make that extra $100, put that into an investment, and that thing is gonna grow. And if you keep doing that for 5 years, 6 years, then you will be safe. And then you'll give your family and your kids and your future, you'll make it guaranteed and safe. And financial stability will be there. But you have to do that, and you have to work hard, and you will lose in that process. And it'll be a cycle sometimes. Like, I've had a roller coaster of a life. I've made millions. Man, my principal Bitcoins that I've had, when I bought it, when I was at like that under $100 marker, I lost all of that. Well, I got stolen. All of it. I went back down to zero.
It's a fucked up story.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to go through it on the podcast, but I lost all of it. So then I had to go back and work hard. But you know what? When you work hard, you learn. You become stronger. You become better. You become smarter. So then you know how to make more money. You know, people are lazy these days. That's honestly the truth. Is people have become very, very lazy.
People are reliant on moon mentality.
Yes.
They're looking for coins to fucking
They just want something to quickly make money.
They want to get these overnight millionaire like stories. And this is the thing that people don't realize. And I've been around enough like really wealthy people to know this, especially people predominantly in the crypto space. Because I know a lot of people that are sitting on a lot of money in crypto. And what people don't realize is that just because your phone shows a value of fucking $1 million or 2 million or whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's like realized, and that money quickly goes away, because more important than people's skills to like or sense to invest in something is greed. And that's a more important emotion that I think hurts people, because a lot of people they see the phone, the number go up, and they're like, oh, if I'm already tripled my money, I'm just gonna leave it in there, it's gonna 5x, and then the correction happens, right? So it's like people need to realize that like it's important to invest your money. Obviously, use some to enjoy it. Don't always just fucking sit on it. That was one of my mistakes from 2017's bull run. I was like, my God, I'm never gonna have to work again. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what the fuck? All my money's gone.
Well, even if it goes up, man. Like I had a friend not really a friend. It was a friend of a friend, and I knew him though.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the early miners of Ethereum. Wow. Very early. And at the time when Ethereum was at maybe $100, $200, I think he had over $15 million worth of Ethereum. He was a young guy.
At the time? Holy shit.
So here's the thing. A lot of money. But his life, the way he lived his life...
was hell.
No, he had a crap car, lived with his parents.
Like, you would never know this man.
No, but he never spent it. And it wasn't because he didn't want stuff. He was cheap, for sure, which I don't understand because I'm not a cheap person. He was like, I can't sell it because what if it goes up? It's going to go up more and I can't sell it. And it's like, it's going to go up and then why am I going to sell it now? It's going to get, but he's been doing that till today. And the problem is who cares if he has $100 million?
Wow.
He will die with that. And he's never
gonna go up.
And you've never done anything with your life. Like for me, like I spend it on my friends and my family and my girlfriend, and like you saw the backyard I set up, and I love to spend that money so that we can enjoy it.
For sure.
But that's me spending money that I've worked hard and I've made. I'm not going and flipping my money and then quickly saying, okay, I'm gonna now spend all that. You have to be smart. Exactly. You have to budget yourself. I tried to go with the idea of that I spend a certain percentage of what I make that month or that year. Like I try to tell myself, don't overspend, try to like invest and that's a good strategy to have, and everyone should do that. But my thing to young people is, and I still think I'm pretty young.
Yeah,
I'm only 27.
Like, why the fuck are we saying young?
Yeah, we're like, oh, the young kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm only 27. So, but again, like young guys that are coming into this, even guys that are my age, you have a lot of time. You have to be patient. You have to work hard. You have to go get a second job. I'm being honest and start investing. And it doesn't matter if something goes wrong, but don't put yourself in a position where if something does go wrong, that you're screwed. Yeah. Invest what you can, work harder, invest what you can, and just keep doing that, and eventually you will become successful.
Exactly. I always, there's the saying goes, invest what you can lose.
Yeah.
But, if you're investing in stuff like top 10 coins, Bitcoin, Ether, Cardano, Polkadot, I mean, I can't say this, and it's not financial advice. You're not going to lose. As long as you hold it, the probability is very small. Sure, you're going to have those 30%, 40% corrections. And that's why, to your point, don't invest anything that you need right away, because that's where you'll get fucked and you'll get screwed. But in the long run, everyone that invests in crypto is going to prosper, in their own respective way. Don't worry. And also, I find getting into this industry is people love to focus on dollar amounts. Yes. People be like, oh, I made 30,000 yesterday, or I made, 50,000. And I'm like, okay, well, how much was your wallet size? And they'll be like, oh, like it was $1 million. I'm like, well, that's fucking garbage. You barely made, like any percent. Whereas focus on percents, man. Whether you have 1,000, whether you're investing 10K, 100K, if you can do your best to increase that percentage and find coins that go up, that's where
you're right. That mentality is the same. Like when I have clients that come to me and they say, okay, so if I bring you $10,000, if I do $10,000 and I invest it in this, how much am I going to make by the end of the month? I'm like, who cares? Like, who cares? Why you like? What does that number mean to you? Who cares? Okay, it's gonna go up. It's gonna go down. You're gonna make money. Why are you so focused on what are you gonna make this month? Like that mentality is a very bad mentality.
Do you know why though, Levon? It's because they are investing shit they need.
Yes,
and that's the issue.
They're like, I need to make this money. money because I need another $1,000.
Exactly, which
that.
is a mistake in itself.
Yes.
So that's probably the big takeaway that I would say for it. And again, guys, like, I'm on your podcast, but here I am beefing you up. This is the real deal. Like, I've met a lot of people, bro. Yeah. And I've told you this before, like, not just in front of the cameras, like, you're a fucking real person in an industry that when you have new industries, you're going to be slimy people in there. And there's a lot of scams.
Been through them all.
You've told me yours, and I've heard, it's not just you, I've heard other stories of like people who have been robbed of a lot of money, like 7 figures, 6 figures. Like it's sad. And so, the things that you say, I take it 1,000 times more serious because I see how real of a dude you are. Man. So yeah.
Appreciate
anyone that's following this, man, go fucking check this guy out on Instagram and see the shit he's doing. And I'm in Phoenix too, right? Yeah. So anyone that wants to do that with you, it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.